Yeah, hello, everybody. I'm George Gastel. I'm the new chair of this committee. It's an honor to be here, and I know a few of you. I look forward to getting to know all of you, and very excited about what we're doing here together. Um, let me if we have a quorum, I think that the next thing to do is the roll call.
George Gastil,
Here.
Casey Myers, Christian Hernandez, Debbie Marshall, here, Juan Lopez, Heriberto Gaitan, Todd Lordson,
Here.
Samantha Steven, Kimberly Taylor, Justin Augustine, Ashley Wiley, Benjamin Gembler, Jana Swartz,
Here.
Charlene Ornelas, Tanya Azevedo, George Rivas, Brent Boyd, Belinda Kelly,
Here.
Monique Ball, Ali Rice, Casey Rodville, here. Chair, that is quorum.
Thank you. And the next item is approval of the minutes. I wasn't there, but if a majority of you say that it happened, I'm willing to sign it. And are there any comments on the minutes, or are we ready to approve them? Do we do motions? Like move approval?
Chair, we do. We just need a first and a second.
Okay. I hear a
Second.
motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody abstaining or voting no? Wonderful. The minutes have passed. Okay, have some discussion items, starting with the UZURV supplemental paratransit pilot presentation.
And Chair, before we
Yeah.
go forward with the meeting, I would just like to remind all of the committee members to use their mic when speaking, please. Thank you.
And I believe that this is John Duncan and Jess Mooney.
And there are no public comments for the record.
I haven't been informed of any. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I jumped over that, but there weren't any slips for public comments. Okay, right.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us in today to speak about the UZURV's First Transit Supplemental ADA Paratransit pilot that's going on. I'm here today. My name is John Duncan, Executive Vice President of Business Development for UZURV, and I'm here today also with our Senior Director of Client Services, Jessica Mooney. We just have a few minutes, a few slides we can run through, very high level of how the program operates, what it involves, and at the end, be happy to answer any questions or provide any additional information that you may want. With that said, again, John Duncan with UZURV. We're an adaptive TNC. If you are unfamiliar with the term adaptive, it just means that some of the contemporaries in the TNC field have relatively rigid requirements for driver onboarding and the way they operate the vehicles and how they receive their service. We're adaptive in that we adjust to the agencies that we serve, into their policies, into the requirements that they have on drivers, on vehicles, on equipment, on pre-trip inspections, on reporting, and pretty much anything necessary to satisfy the needs of the agency. For our service, we offer a TNC-like service that is true door-to-door room when required. Nationally, we have a 98.4 on-time performance, and more specifically in California, under the operation in Sacramento, we operate at 99+ on-time performance. That's all time performance. That's an average of all the performance that we've served there, relatively unheard of in paratransit. We're extremely happy about it. We also offer, not yet at MTS, it'll be waiting until the pilot is made permanent, but we can discuss a complete integration with Trapeze Pass or any scheduling software that you operate or run today. We have integrated in many municipalities with everything from Trapeze Pass, EcoLane, Spare Labs, pretty much any major technology provider for the paratransit space that's available. Our drivers are all Prop 22 and MTS Policy 31 compliant. We believe in those measures and we understand them. We ensure that not only do we meet and exceed them, but that we're open and honest with our prime contractor, First Transit, and with MTS as requested. Next slide. That includes FTA compliance, drug, alcohol testing, and background checking. Just for a high level overview of how the service works. As you can see on the graphic above, your riders, your authorized eligible riders call into you, reserve their trips on paratransit. Those trips are entered into Trapeze Pass. That's then picked up by First Transit. And as they review and schedule the night before, they're looking for opportunities to improve performance the next day, surgically or with a broadsword if they need assistance with a larger route or there are manpower issues that day that are unanticipated, which we have all seen in the last couple of months, years actually, with paratransit services. And specifically on route, they can look at a route, pick out one trip, flip it over in a platform upload. In other words, they take a file output from Trapeze and they drop it into our web self-service. Our platform picks those up and distributes them to their drivers and makes it available to our TNC drivers. And the trip is performed. The First Transit has access to all that data during the time of the trip, including real-time geolocation, service status before, during, and after the trip. And then the driver goes on about his or her day. With that, next slide. And then I'll turn it over to Jess to get into the operators.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And thank you so much for having us here this afternoon. It's great to be here. I wanted to share a little bit about our drivers and our software. So our drivers go through rigorous compliance and onboarding processes. And it's rigorous and detailed to ensure the highest level of client support and rider experience can be achieved. And really only the best drivers and the most committed drivers end up actually driving for UZURV and getting through the process. Our software platform administers the bulk of the compliance oversight and requirements. It's constantly monitoring and making sure that all of the drivers' documents and screenings, their training and other items, as you can see on the screen, making sure they remain up to date. And very importantly, it also prevents non-compliant drivers from being able to have access to or executing any trips on our platform. So, things like their driver's license and their insurance, things with expiration dates, it monitors and makes sure they stay in compliance. And it administers lots of our training and other information from agencies, like making sure our drivers understand the MTS Policy 31 as well. So while I shared our software, really provides all the administrative compliance for our drivers and our vehicles, it's very much on purpose to give our operations associates the ability to really focus on the rides in real time and support the things that really matter on every single ride. So we have a team who monitors. Every single trip. So it's not just the software, but there are actual people who are supporting your riders as well and working directly with the First Transit team on a daily basis. And there's a team who's assigned specifically to San Diego. You'll see, and if you looked at the slides before, we're in many locations across the nation. There's a team specific to the riders in your community. So what does that support look like, right? What does that oversight look like? The team makes sure that drivers are on time for all of their trips. they can proactively intervene if it looks like a driver might be late for a trip. They can see what's happening on every trip in real time through our platform at all times. And as John stated, First Transit has the oversight to be able to see all of that information in real time as well. So we can see when drivers are expected to arrive at a location, depart from a location, watch them throughout the life of the trip. And if there's anything that comes up during the trip, our team is ready to work with First Transit to support your rider and make sure everything happens safely. So where are we right now in our pilot with your program, right? This is our mobilization timeline that we have with all of our programs, for which myself and my team very specifically are responsible. So we've been working with MTS First Transit for a number of weeks to get the program started. And what's really important here about the slide and what I wanted to share is that really we're always learning. It says learn kind of towards the end, but it's always happening. This mobilization period has been what I would have considered, and I think by and large, we've considered a really successful start. That doesn't mean that we stop learning and we stop changing and stop growing. We want to be able to grow to be able to provide as much service to your community as the community needs and as you need from us, and in the most innovative and effective ways that we can. So we really value and appreciate real partnerships with our organizations that we work with, which we've experienced here, which is why I think it's been really successful so far in trying to work together to understand and provide the best for us. So what you'll see here is that while this is a pilot in San Diego, it is not a pilot for UZURV, right? So we have partnerships in many communities across the country, some agencies, which I'm sure you'll be aware of, and we're growing every day. In fact, you'll notice in MARTA in Atlanta, Georgia, it says it's a pending launch, and that ride start launched yesterday, which was really exciting for all of us. So we've been partnering with these agencies for a number of years now, and we're really happy to be partnering with you all today and going forward. I don't have a whole lot to, oh, John, did you want to say something? Sorry.
Yes, I'll just note also on there on the map of our service area, roughly half of those are in relationship with a prime contractor, First Transit and or Transdev, subcontracting to them for the agency. So we have a long-standing relationship with both First Transit and Transdev. We have open lines of communication to the executive whenever they need something, they call us, and vice versa. Just wanted to point.
Yep, that's great. And we've shared at the end of the deck here, we wanted to share with you some of the feedback, not just from some of our agencies, some of our riders, but also our drivers, right? So we talked about partnership here with First Transit and Transdev and you all, but we consider clearly our driver team partnerships with them and with the community. So we're really proud of the feedback that we've received from the community. It'll sound probably like blowing some smoke, but really we get complaints when ridership wants us to provide more service in a direct door-to-door service. So we look forward to being able to grow with you. I think that's all I have, John.
With that, any questions?
Hi, I had a question. My name is Samantha Steffen. Do you guys, I'm just wondering about the financials. So does the passenger pay per ride? Is it kind of like Access where it's $5? Or could you just go over that?
It's identical to your ADA paratransit service.
Oh, okay. So it's
So-
$5 each way.
Yes, it's the subsidy or the funding comes from the agency and it's identified at whatever the fare is, for a regular ride.
Okay. And then how about the liability insurance? Is that covered through MTS or?
No, UZURV provides insurance for all of our drivers while they're working,
Got it.
both automotive liability, general liability, and then we have a number of other state required coverages that we meet or exceed.
Right. Okay. Awesome. And then I also had a question about, can the drivers refuse to take a trip if they, for whatever reason, decide they don't want to go to Del Mar or whatever the case is? And then how much heads up time does the passenger get if their trip gets canceled or?
We have a great response for this. I'll let Jessica.
Okay, good.
handle that.
Yep, absolutely. So the way it works is our drivers, accept trips, they request trips to be assigned to them. So when First Transit builds their efficiencies, assigns over to us a group of trips for our drivers to consider, it goes out to all the drivers in our network, in our service area here. And drivers can request that those trips be assigned to them. On occasion, there are trips that drivers don't request be assigned to them. And in that case, we've worked out standard operating procedures with First Transit for those trips to still be managed. They don't get canceled, and First Transit will find an efficiency on their route.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I had just a few very quick questions. So just for my clarity, in terms of usability, is there a separate app that would be used, or is there some linkage with existing MTS services?
So right now, the service is dispatched in a similar way that it is for your dedicated drivers. There is the potential for an app to be available, but that would have to be after we're out of pilot, and then B, when some integration discussions happen with PASS or with Trapeze, excuse me. There are some requirements there on versioning of a PASS environment, and it's a little bit of a longer story, but it's absolutely possible. A number of our operations now use an app, but that is mostly in a dial-a-ride sense where they're requesting the ride. They're not running the ride through the parent agency. And in places where we have the app deployed for ADA paratransit service, the functionality app is for driver identification, which exists in the driver's app today, where they can show the passenger that this is my identification, identified with your pickup address, and monitoring of their trip while in service or on the way to it. But that is out of pilot determination.
Sure. No, that's great.
Hi, Jay Washburn with MTS. If I could just elaborate on the program just a little bit. UZURV is a subcontractor of First Transit. All reservations and trip requests still go through First Transit. UZURV taxi cannot be specifically requested by the rider. The determination for the mode of transportation is based on their eligibility status. UZURV taxi do not take wheelchair clients. We do not put individuals with cognitive deficits on taxi or wheelchair. We consider those a higher level of care. So those are always transported by the First Transit MTS access drivers that are trained to a higher level, not their good level. There's, it's just a higher level because of the developmental disabilities in those situations. So I just want to be clear on that. The clients can't specifically request. Everything still goes through our access reservation center. Talking about apps or other things, or if they were ever operated as an independent service. So I didn't want anybody to get a wrong impression about that. Another thing we've learned from our experience with taxis is making sure that our riders can identify the vehicles. So we developed, show everywhere real quick, a decal that all user vehicles are required to have on them. We have a similar decal that taxi administration uses that are on all the taxis. And this has been kind of our identifying mark for clients to have that comfort level and see the MTS when they're getting picked up on access. So we thought it was really good to follow a similar model with UZURV to help the clients identify. Also, we've had lengthy conversations about clients with visual impairments to make sure that those drivers are getting out and announcing verbally the client's name, because they're having issues. The past driver pulls up, client obviously doesn't see them, and then next thing you know, the client gets a message saying they were a no-show and they were standing right there. So we're very cognitive to make sure that, and make sure we address any specific disabilities, do everything we can to connect the driver and the rider and get them together. So.
Thank you for clarifying that. And so that was one follow-up. So there is a sort of concierge option. So if you had no technology connections, you would still be able to call in and get this service. Is that
the
correct?
determination of what mode, whether they would get a ride through user, taxi, or directly from access, is purely decided by MTS based on efficiencies.
Okay.
So first thing we always try to do, because access is a shared ride program, is we always try to see where we can group trips for efficiencies. Then when there's outliers that we can't or don't fit the service model, time of day or location, then we look to our partners at UZURV and taxi to be able to assist with those rides so that we can maintain optimal efficiencies and on-time percentages for the riders. But yeah, they all go through the same process to book those reservations, and then we decide the mode. And someone could get a UZURV one day, a taxi the next day, and a bus the next day, in 3 days in a row, just based on other trip requests we have and whether it's close to them and fits the same time parameters or not.
Okay, thanks, Jay.
You're welcome.
And I don't want to take up too much airspace, but my last two questions was the on-time percentage is really high, which is great. I was curious if there's a wait time that you can throw in on average, how much, what does that mean? The 98.4% on time? Yeah, is there a number or a wait time?
No,
Okay.
it's within the window. I think Jay might have some data on the existing service as we perform this short amount of time.
Right. Currently, all reservations are booked with a 30-minute pickup window,
Okay.
and drivers have a 5-minute window upon arrival that they wait. If they do not make contact with that client, then they notify dispatch, who attempts to make a phone call to the rider. The driver cannot leave until dispatch authorizes what's called a no-show. So, but we want to make that extra step and try to reach out to the client and get a hold of them and make contact with them. And then many times we'll catch them and, oh, it had to stop at a bathroom, something, but we can make that connection, say, okay, hold the driver a couple minutes or something. So that's the normal procedure, 30-minute pickup window, and the driver will wait 5 on scene.
That's
Yeah.
terrific. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And my very last thing on your training and certification with the ADA sensitivity, I was just curious, is that something that you created or is that from an external resource that you use?
It's a combination of both,
Cool.
actually. Yep, and it's pass or pass equivalent training.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You for pass, you mean the CTAA?
Yes.
Yeah, the same training we use for our taxi drivers also as part of the program.
Thank you. Are there any more questions?
I had one more quick question.
Sure.
Sorry, guys.
Mhm.
Just wondering, how are you going to maintain or make sure that there are enough drivers available to pick up the extra slack funneling your way?
That's an excellent question. And in partnership with First Transit, with Justin and his team, we are working together to ramp our capacity to meet the needs of the community. That's what I mean when we say that. So as we, thanks, this is perfect slide for that, John. That's part of the learning, right? Like, we have a goal of ride volume that we're meeting and we're going to continue to grow. And then when they've met the efficiencies that they want to for your riders, then we can stay at that capacity. And what's really important for our driver base, and one of the things we consider our drivers, our partners too, is our constant communication with them about what's happening in the community, what's happening with the trips that they're seeing, when they can expect to see more trips, or if trip volume is going to change and stay the same. It's really about communication for us. And it's part of our adaptiveness, right? We talk about being an adaptive TNC. If you need more trips from us, we can grow to that. And if it's going to change or be less because something changes, then that's okay too.
And if I
Thank
could
you.
just add on that,
Sure.
when we send the trips the night before over to UZURV and taxi, they have the opportunity to review them and they can send trips back to First Transit to say, hey, we don't have the capacity to handle it. That's designed again for customer service. We don't want to overload a vendor and set them up for failure, which is just going to be failure for the client and the transportation. And then those would come back to First Transit to look at alternative, whether it was maybe check taxi or Uber user, or their internal drivers or something. So there is a dialogue. It's not here, you got to make this work type of situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that aligns directly with the calibration period that we're in now. We're just in the period of understanding the demand, understanding the potential for future demand, and then programming towards that for when we get to I guess you'd call it a steady state.
Thank you.
This is Casey Myers. I had a couple of quick questions to add on that. So right now, I understand with it's a requirement to have 2 days ahead of time to schedule a new trip for paratransit. Would that still remain the same, or how long ahead would you need to schedule?
Reservation policies and everything are still the same.
Okay. And then you had mentioned wheelchairs as well. Will wheelchairs then not, wheelchair riders will not be a part of UZURV that will maintain just on buses?
Currently, the wheelchair transportation is all done by First Transit.
Okay. And how many drivers are you using right now in this? And how many are you kind of anticipating to be in the next step?
So right now we have, I don't know the total number off the top of my head, but to meet the demand growing right now at this point in time. So as we calibrate, we have to understand what the service area is like, what the trip distances are like. These are the kinds of things we're learning to understand how many trips our drivers can do on any given day. So it's a little bit different answer than I have 175 drivers, and that means I can provide, this trip volume. So we're working to calibrate the driver base, and we really, it sounds kind of vanilla, but to meet whatever demand, once we learn how many trips per day a driver is going to do in the market, we'll grow until we can meet, the capacity that the MTS and First Transit wants us to handle.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, are the drivers also registered with Uber and Lyft? So are they signed up for multiple organizations? And I don't know if you have that answer or not.
They can be, is the
Okay.
short answer. Sure, absolutely. When they are working through our app and on our platform, they're working only for us. So it's only your riders in the vehicle at that time, obviously. But what they're doing when they're not working or wanting to be on shift for us, they can do that, or DoorDash or other things. Thanks.
You've mentioned the pilot phase. Is there like a point in which pilot phase ends, or is that kind of going to be determined a little later, or is there a hard date on that?
Just if I may chime in,
Absolutely.
Justin over here with First Transit. So we designed this program for like a 90-day pilot program, as we do with all of our subcontractors who are interested in doing work. And so the purpose of users to come on is to help our organization, our system right now, and to take a lot of pressure off of the MTS drivers who are doing the paratransit access ridership deal. So we
Justin,
designed-
could you turn your mic on, please?
I'm sorry.
Thank you. The meetings are recorded, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So we designed the system to work with UZURV to do a 90-day trial run with them, because we didn't want to bring on something that wouldn't help the service. So we wanted to see how we can test it out. And we believe that in 60 days, you could tell a lot of what's going on, but in 90 days, you could see the potential of what it could truly be. So that's the point, potential of the 90-day pilot program.
Okay.
And user, just kudos to them. They launched faster than we had hoped with them. We went live March 1st, and we're up to between 55 and 65 trips a day already with them. So it's been a very positive launch so far. So.
Yes. And just to chime into that, to answer your question maybe a little earlier, we're currently holding them right now around 85 trips per day, with the potential to grow to 150, even more, if the system allows it, with all of the regulations and restrictions that are currently in place. So, we want to take this in increments. So we've been increasing it by 15 to 25, and based off of what trips are being returned or what trips are unable to be completed, we'll hold and we'll say, okay, let's see, this is our saturation point. Let's see what we could do to adjust. So as Ms. Mooney is saying, as Mr. Washburn is saying, we're in constant communication around the clock on what is working and what is not working.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, congratulations on your success so far.
And there are no public comments on this, wishing to address on this item.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And next we have number 5, potential revision to the Accessible Services Advisory Committee membership guidelines. I'm going to turn this over to Jay.
Hi, I'll do the
Oh.
presentation actually. My name is Samantha Leslie. So I'll be presenting on potential revisions to the ASAC membership guidelines. So just as background, ASAC is an advisory committee. It was created and designated by the board to give recommendations to MTS staff, our CEO, and the board, depending on the item regarding accessibility services, proposals, and concepts. We currently have the members include individuals and organizations with various experience and expertise in areas regarding accessibility. And we have 18 current voting members. As you see here, we have 1 rep from the MTS Board of Directors, Chair Castile. We have 1 passenger from Fixed Route, 1 passenger from Access, 1 rep from Access to Independence, 1 rep from County of San Diego AIS, 1 representative from County of San Diego Behavioral Health Services, 1 rep from SANDAG, 1 rep from Caltrans, Staff Community Service, FACT, San Diego Center of the Blind, San Diego Regional Center, State Council on Developmental Disabilities, and 5 internal MTS staff members, which are from departments of bus, contracted bus, trolley, access operations, and access eligibility. So that's 18. And so the reason we're bringing this today is because for two reasons. One, we've had some difficulty finding a representative from Caltrans. So this has been a vacant member seat for a while, a few years maybe. And, you know, when we have constant vacancies, it shows that we might need to address it and see where we can maybe find a member who could potentially replace them. And two, we have 5 internal staff members that are voting members. We were thinking it probably would make more sense that they would be assisting staff in presentations, helping discussion, not necessarily a voting member. The idea of ASAC would be, we want the community's feedback and we wouldn't want MTS staff necessarily in those ASAC decisions, but we want them to be part of the discussion definitely and help us with these agenda items and give further discussion item feedback and such. So we're thinking of making these 2 revisions of removing the MTS staff as a voting member and removing Caltrans. Now, this would mean 12 voting members, but this is just a first concept. We wanted to get your feedback on maybe we can replace Caltrans with another organization, add another fixed route passenger, add another access passenger. Really, this is something we wanted to get your feedback and thoughts and guidance to see how can we improve if we want this ASAC to be as comprehensive of our community and our passengers as possible. And so the feedback we are requesting is your thoughts on these proposed revisions or others that you might want to consider the group looking at. And with that, I open to feedback or thoughts on how we can improve our ASAC members.
Any feedback? Jana?
Yeah, just a clarifying question. When you've had trouble with Caltrans, is that largely because you haven't been able to contact them or they have already voiced that they don't have an interest in participating?
We haven't been able to contact them at all for roughly over 2 years now.
Okay.
And if anyone knows a representative or staff member at Caltrans, you think that might be a perfect fit, maybe you can help us get in contact. We've tried the contacts we have, but happy to look into contacts you might have out in the field.
Yeah, I might know someone.
Okay.
Yeah,
That'd be-
yeah. Other comments? I'd like to say that I think that removing the MTS internal staff is probably a good idea because this body is advisory to MTS. So yeah, it seems like they would be in a role of receiving the advice from this body, not on voting on what the advice would be.
So
Any
maybe what we'll do is we'll maybe wait to hear contacts from Caltrans. We'll reach out and bring this back up to the next ASAC once we hear whether or not we could find someone at Caltrans. And if anyone has any thoughts on organizations we could add, feel free to email us in the meantime. And then we can look into whether they're interested in joining.
Yeah, that is one of the big things we really want to do is see if there's any other advocacy groups out there that we don't have included with the committee that would like to have a voice and be participative. I can't say the word, participate in this because we really, coming out of COVID, really want to get this forum to have more of a voice and more participation and be able to bring things to the table to help MTS and guide it in regards to its disability services. And that's not just access. That's for the fixed route, for the bus, for the trolley, all aspects of disability service for paratransit.
Ask one more question. Historically, have there been others on this committee that are not currently listed?
A few years ago, we added several of these organizations that weren't on here. I can't remember taking an organization off.
We expanded like
Right.
community services, but we have not removed any. No, we want the more the merrier.
So no action necessary based on what I'm hearing. We'll bring this back at our next ASAC meeting with some background information if we could contact Caltrans or not.
Thank you.
Just for point.
Oh, yeah.
For my own guidance, if we have a recommendation of an organization, should we propose it at the next meeting?
You could now propose it and we can work with them and make sure that they're willing. And then we can come back and actually have like the red line revisions to the document. But so you're welcome to provide that feedback now.
The back project in Chula Vista is pretty active in our community down in South Bay.
Okay, great.
Could we add just a community-based organization? So does it, that isn't agency specific, so that then people could apply and put the word out to the community? And then there, we might find other people that are interested in issues of transportation that we just aren't on our radar and that really want to be a part of the conversation.
That's a great idea. We do something similar with the fixed route and the access passenger. We put out an advertisement and people apply and then we review the applications, and that's how we nominated the two that we currently have. And so that could be something similar we do for that kind of organization.
Other feedback?
If in between this meeting and the next meeting, somebody thinks of an organization, just email who.
Feel free to email Jay or Carla. That'd be
Okay.
great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, our hope would be is to get any ideas or suggestions from you before the next meeting over the next 3 months. We can reach out to contact them, and then Sam can bring this item back next time flushed out and say, here's what we're recommending for the revisions. Hopefully get something that the board can vote on and approve, and then we could take to the full board. They have to approve any change in the memberships in the committee, if I'm
Yes.
correct. Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we're ready to move on to number 6, the ADA paratransit reports.
Before we move on, there are no public comments wishing to
Oh,
address.
thank you.
It's on this item. It's okay.
For item 60, paratransit reports, all of the statistics are included in the board packets that have been submitted out to everyone. For those you newer to the committee, we used to read these ad nauseum at the meeting. We found much more productive to just let everyone peruse them at their own leisure. And then if you ever have any questions regarding the numbers, we're glad to address them here at the meeting, give you an answer, or if we don't have it, get you an answer. So that's item 6.
Okay. And item 7, fixed route reports.
Exactly what I just said, same thing, numbers, stats before submitted to all the members as part of their packets. And we're glad to address any questions that anyone has regarding those numbers.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. And I'm thinking that we don't have any public comment on this either.
We do not, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Gosh, we're moving more quickly than I expected. And on other items, we've got number 8, committee member communications and other business. What committee member communications do we have?
Chair, if I could start?
Yeah.
Just a few general announcements regarding access. Our trip volume has been climbing rapidly. We're back up to about 55% of our pre-COVID levels as of last month. We're seeing another spike so far in March with substantial increase in ridership. So it's very good to see that disability community starting to get out more and more post-COVID as we move forward. More and more social service agencies, now that the states the governor's mandate of the emergency, I believe it impacted places like SDRC and other places, are now greater latitude to open up and provide more services. So I think we're going to see a consistent increase on there. We are struggling with staffing like many businesses across the nation right now. Very honest, our service level is not where we want it to be. We're very transparent about that. Our on time and our onboard times are suffering, not at the standards we want to be. We're very aggressively working with First Transit to get staff on board, bringing in programs like UZURV to supplement. The MTS board recently approved significant rate increases to the drivers. That's money that went 100% straight through pass through through First Transit, and 100% of those dollars went directly to driver wages. First Transit has been very aggressive in their hiring. They've added on-site staff to work on recruiting. If anyone crosses down to San Ysidro into TJ, they've got an ad running on the electronic billboard. We're even trying to recruit cross-border and bring drivers in. They're working with local communities. They worked with several the board members and contacts in their communities to do local outreach. So we are aggressively working on this. It is just a very difficult uphill climb right now. Unfortunately, when COVID hit, access ridership dropped by 92%. That unfortunately led to a lot of drivers being furloughed. When the ridership started coming back, we started bringing back a lot of people that exited the workforce or other opportunities. But we're working very diligently to get that staff level up. But we know we're not where we want to be right now. So we're very conscious of that. Don't I want to make sure everyone here understands that. And Carl and I, are living and breathing it with Justin and his team and everyone on a daily basis to try to make every day a little better than the day before. Want to just say welcome to UZURV. We're very grateful to have their partnership, and they've really proven themselves already in their startup time and the professionalism and some of the positive comments we've seen already. Another thing that we're working on is our electronic fare system. We've been talking about this actually going up back to just before COVID hit, which stopped almost everything, but we're hoping by June to have our cashless fare system for electronic payment on access in place. So right now, if you deal with it, it's either cash or they have to buy a voucher, which can only be purchased at our transit store or online. This would give an opportunity for riders or family members to fund an account, which would just be debited as the riders take trips. So we're very excited to get that out there as an addition to our web and app we have out there for riders. So want to encourage everyone to please encourage anyone that doesn't use the app to use the app. It's immediate reservations, 24 hours a day. It's not hold times in the reservation center, which is experiencing short staffing also. It's ability to track your ride and see where it is. There's a lot of functionality that app really gives to people. I can't encourage that use enough. And there's also a web-based version of it too, but can't encourage the use of that enough to access riders out there. Just housekeeping, First Transit was acquired last week. In the last week or so, was purchased in whole by Transdev. It is now a wholly owned subsidiary of Transdev. A lot of transition work to go on there. I don't think it's going to have any kind of a negative impact on our service. And if anything, brings more talent and skills to the table on this. But just want to let everybody know about that. They're still operating as a separate business, wholly owned subsidiary. I'm not sure if I'm using the exact legal term, but they were purchased as a corporation. So, but they've been in constant contact with us and working with us and not seen any problems. So just let everyone know about that. And then Janet, you had asked a question about the 2-day reservation window. We have some really exciting news on that. We're working on launching June 1st, a pilot where we're going to expand the reservation window to 10 days. Try to give a lot more opportunity for riders to be able to book their trips and not be under that 2-day pressure for the reservations. It will be a pilot. It'll be a 6-month pilot. It's tentatively for June 1st right now. We're working all the technical details out with First Transit for the computer system, making the changes so it'll allow that. Right now, if you try to book a trip more than 2 days, computer just says no. So we've got to make some modifications there and again, getting our staffing up in the reservation center and stuff. So it's going to be a little bit before we get there, but we feel it'll really be a positive thing for the ridership. And, these are the kind of things we're looking for. We listen to, we've heard comment from riders and suggestions from them that we do take to heart and look at and see what we can do to try and improve the quality service level on these type of things. So, and that's everything I have to report, Chair.
Thank you. Any other reports from committee members?
I have a quick question about
Yeah.
the app you were referring to earlier. Is that just the MTS app or is it a specific app for access?
It's a specific app. It's easy access.
Is that the name of the app?
Yeah. Easy
like
access.
EA,
You can
SE
get it
ones?
at the iOS or the, what's the other one? Android.
The Android,
Sorry.
yeah.
Apple guy, sorry. At the websites, it does require you to register with First Transit. There's instructions on the website how you can submit a request. They issue you, once they verify your participation, they issue you access codes. So for a login and a password for the app. And then riders can go in, it immediately recognizes them. It saves previous destinations. So frequently taking trips, they can click on as part of the drop down on the to and from. It's slick. We're really, we've had about 10 or 15% adoption of trips that have been coming in through that since we've launched it, which is very successful for something like that and dealing with the disability community. But more and more, family members have been doing it so they can book trips for family and stuff. So it's a great tool, either on the app or on the web. Again, it can be accessed right on a PC from the web.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
First, I'd just like to say thanks to Jay and Carla. I know you did an outreach for one of our programs. They were very appreciative. Thank you very much. And also I'd like to say that I'm pretty excited about the 10-day because we hear it a lot from not so much the users, because it's usually somebody scheduling for them, but either families or care providers that this 2-day cycle, is just, really difficult on them. So even if you were just doing 5, I'm sure people would be excited, but the fact that you're doing 10 is great. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
And just a few quick
Yeah.
ones again. Curious, so 2 questions for MTS. I was curious about the status of doing the senior reduced fare as well as other reduced fares online without having to come downtown. That's something that's been discussed for a bit. And I was told recently that maybe that's coming sooner rather than later.
I'm sorry, I can't speak to the SDM fare, outside of my scope, I'm sorry, but we can get the information or have someone from that program reach out and contact you to get you that information.
That would be great. Okay, thank you. And then I'm just curious, as we're coming back, transitioning, doing more outreach in person. We've been having a hard time contacting someone with MTS doing outreach specifically. Is there a good contact that you'd also be able to share in regards to just providing information to the community about using transit?
Transit in general?
Transit in general.
Absolutely. We'll get a contact to you. So,
Okay.
yeah, we have
terrific.
several types of outreach programs. We have them for standard, we have them for MTS access, but yeah, definitely we'll get you that information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Jay, I'd be interested in the reduced fare, any information on the reduced fare as well. So
What we can do is we can get this information on both of these topics and just send it out as a general blast to the committee. So everyone would have that information
Yes, thank
available
you.
to them.
thank you very much.
Absolutely. And please, I say, use us as a resource. Don't have to wait for this meeting. We only meet quarterly. Carla and I are here a little more often than that. So please, reach out to us. If you have feedback from riders, if they have ideas and suggestions, the change in the reservation window has really been a direct feedback from that. Getting the app, working on the cashless fare system. A lot of those have been byproducts of concerns and things that have been raised by riders or family members of riders. Because again, a lot of our people are developmentally disabled, and it's a support of the family. And we try to make sure we look at the needs of all parties, not just the riders, but the caregivers and stuff also. So please, we're always open to feedback and suggestions, and don't wait for this meeting to give us that stuff, good or bad.
Wonderful. Yes,
Trolley
thank
event.
you. Thank you,
Brent
Brent.
Boyd, San Diego Trolley. Just wanted to know, anybody that's taken the trolley here, you see a lot of construction down below the building at the end of the green line. What that is we're building a second track there. We'll have a middle platform, and that's really going to improve the operational flexibility, our ability to increase service for special events, Comic-Con, that type of thing. So that's what you're seeing. It's supposed to finish in the fall this year, probably October timeframe. So there will be a few green line weekend shutdowns due to that project coming up in the summer. Just shut down between Gaslamp and 12th Imperials, just the last segment. So you've seen the construction, that's what it's for. And
We do have one person wishing to address on this item. George, can you please unmute yourself?
Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
George.
Okay. Jay, I think that is awesome, extending the reservation, but could we do it opposite too, where we could do more last minute reservations?
Well, currently we can take reservations up to 5 PM the day before. We can't really go much farther than that because we have hours of work building the schedules and the routes. After that to get the assignments out to the drivers. We can look at it. I'm not going to say no, but that's been backed up pretty tight for operational reasons to turn around like right now, 1,100 trips and organize them and schedule them and have them in place starting at 4 or 5 in the morning the next day is pretty tough with cutoff at 5 PM. So, but we will take a look at it. And this is George Rivas.
Yes.
You're supposed to be here.
Oh, I am? Oh, man. I'm actually went to a conference in LA. I'm on the highway right now.
Not a problem. Hey, great to hear your voice. Sorry, didn't mean to call you out.
No problem.
Okay. Any other reports from people on the committee? Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for June 15th. And I look forward to seeing all of you then. So this meeting is adjourned.